Chapter 115, The Weight Holding Me Together. Geto set his backpack on the extra chair in front of Saito-sensei's desk. He sauntered over to the bookshelves lining the room. Saito-sensei poured green tea into 2 teacups and leaned back in his chair. Geto feigned interest in the book titles, but showed genuine curiosity with the dragon statues. They were all different sizes and colors, created with painstaking detail, from the fierce facial expressions all the way down to the points of their sharp talons. Geto thought about his main weapon, the cursed spirit he tamed, Rainbow Dragon, and how he had kept it tucked away so long he wasn't sure he could perform the incantation to summon it again. His shoulders sagged, remembering the last time he called Rainbow Dragon to battle, when Fushiguro Toji had killed Gojo on their way to bring young Amanai to Tengen at the Tombs of the Star Corridor. The mission had been pointless. He failed at protecting Amanai, and Fushiguro Toji had left Geto beaten, sliced open, hovering at the edge of death. His parting words to Geto as he walked off smirking, "You're nothing without Gojo Satoru." Geto shut his eyes. "Fuck," he muttered, wishing the memory could be erased forever. Then he remembered where he was. He glanced quickly at Saito-sensei, an apology forming on his lips, but what came out was something different. "You knew I was carrying something heavy," Geto reminded him. Saito-sensei took a sip of tea. "What happens if you set it down?" Saito-sensei asked after a moment. "I can't do that. It will hurt too many people if I let go. In fact, in my world, I'm expected to take on more," Geto told him. "And you're expected to take on more to keep protecting the people you love?" "The people I love are strong enough to bear the weight of the world alone, but they shouldn't have to just because they're able to. Strength doesn't mean they volunteered to suffer." Geto traced his finger around the oval base of one of the dragons. Saito-sensei leaned his elbows on the desk. "Then why are you trying to be the one to carry it alone?" Geto's arms dropped to his sides. "Because someone has to, and I can. That's how it's always felt, like this is what I was made for." Saito-sensei took another sip of tea and set his cup down gently on his desk. "You say that as if being able to endure pain means you were meant to live in it." Geto averted his eyes to the ground. "Strength is not a command, it's a capacity. Those are not the same thing." Saito-sensei's tone was warm and steady. He tipped his head, trying to catch Geto's eye. Geto kept his gaze down. "When you carry the world on your shoulders, you think you're protecting others, but you're also teaching them that their lives are lighter than yours." Geto finally looked at Saito-sensei. "That's not what I mean to do." "I know," Saito-sensei gave him a soft smile. "You mean to love them." His eyes prickled with tears. "What am I supposed to do?" Geto asked. "Next time you train, do not think, 'How much more can I bear?' Ask instead, 'What is mine to carry and what is not?'" Saito-sensei looked Geto in his watery eyes. "You do not need to abandon your strength. Only let go of the belief that peace belongs to everyone but you." Geto left quietly, shifting his backpack onto his shoulders and buttoning up his coat all the way up to the neck. The tea Saito-sensei poured out for Geto remained untouched again, but Saito-sensei knew he would return for a fresh cup. Maybe not the next day, but soon. Geto walked slowly at first, then his chest clenched. He wanted Gojo. He picked up speed. Geto made his way to the back of the library where he knew Gojo would be working. Gojo was already looking up from his laptop when Geto rounded the corner. His smile brightened when they locked eyes. Geto smiled back, breathless. He suddenly felt lighter. Winding down for the day, Gojo lay in bed, head propped up on pillows, scrolling through his phone, the light of the screen illuminating his face. Geto was sitting on top of him, legs straddling Gojo's hips. He had his onenju and was twisting it around his wrist. He glanced up at Gojo, the view of his face blocked by the phone. Gojo was texting Shoko, asking her to lend her barber skills to Geto's grown-out locks again. They hadn't spent much time with her since Geto was released from the hospital. Her role with the school had evolved in Geto's absence. She was at the infirmary full-time and was no longer assigned to specific sorcerer teams. She remained on call to go into the field to treat patients on site as needed. They'd missed her dry humor and the way she'd fuss over them with indignance, like an older sister would. They teased her about her social media addiction, but they still missed having to duck out of view whenever she wanted to take a food or shopping selfie. She was the one who got people together for parties, birthdays, and holidays. Geto even missed being able to bum an occasional cigarette from her, much to Gojo's amusement. Gojo's phone vibrated with Shoko's reply. "She'll come over tomorrow after she leaves the clinic," he told Geto. "Okay." Geto tucked the onenju into his pajama pocket and rested his palms lightly on Gojo's belly. He continued to watch him play on his phone. Gojo was an anomaly. He was born with powers and strength that would be inconceivable to anyone outside the Jujutsu world. He came from a large, powerful family with boundless influence and the money to back it up. Gojo didn't speak much of his clan. He'd once shared with Geto that he never bonded with his biological parents, instead being raised by the mother of the Gojo clan and his aunties, who'd made sure their Satoru grew up learning from the best homeschooling teachers and trained diligently in combat skills and weapons. He'd been raised away from kids his own age and looked at as the clan's golden heir, the clan asset born with both the six eyes and limitless technique. They revered him, but kept him at arm's length. Geto thought about his own life growing up. He was an only child and was a shy kid. He spent most of his time on his own, dribbling the soccer ball up and down the patchy grass in his backyard, or tucked into bed, reading until he nodded off and the book fell from his hands. His parents, who had no jujutsu powers, loved him but had trouble conveying their love, as if they could no longer relate to him once his jujutsu powers had manifested. He'd also felt as if they kept him at arm's length. His mom and dad seemed relieved when he finally enrolled at the college and left home. Gojo and Geto were both lonely and alone in their own ways, but Geto had never given it a serious thought until now. He remembered his talk with Saito-sensei. Geto was willing to take on the heaviest burden if it meant Gojo didn't have to, but if he destroyed himself in the process, what would that mean for Gojo? Geto slipped his hands underneath Gojo's t-shirt and worked them up to Gojo's chest. Gojo's nipples hardened at his touch, but Geto was reaching for his heart. He felt the strong beat underneath his fingers. Gojo put his phone down on the bed and grasped Geto's thighs. Geto's energy felt calm and a little subdued. "Hey," Gojo softly called out. Geto looked up from following the shape of his hands underneath Gojo's shirt. "What are you thinking so hard about?" Gojo asked. "What I'm always thinking about." The corners of Geto's mouth lifted. "You." Geto pulled his hands from Gojo's shirt and pinched one of his cheeks playfully. "Good, then we're even, 'cause I'm always thinking about you." Gojo grabbed Geto's hand before he could pull it away and pressed it back against his chest. Gojo looked at Geto, loving the way his bangs hung over an eye and the rest of his long hair tumbled over his shoulders in gentle waves. Geto blushed under Gojo's gaze. "You want to sleep on top of me tonight?" Gojo asked. "Yes." Geto crawled across the bed to turn off the lamp on Gojo's desk. He came back and got under the covers with Gojo, leaning down to give him a gentle, lingering kiss before draping his body over his. He rested an ear against Gojo's chest, his heartbeat like a lullaby. Gojo stilled underneath him, one arm coming up to hold him there, the other settling at the small of his back. The weight of Geto's body was warm and steady, a presence that pressed him into the mattress and kept him there. It wasn't a weight he had to endure. It was something he chose. Gojo closed his eyes, breath evening out beneath Geto's. He let himself sink into the quiet truth of it. Some weight doesn't crush you, he thought. Some weight holds you together.